Welcome back to our series, Personal Finances for 9-to-5ers. If you're new here, I'm Amanda, Abundance Coach for 9-to-5ers, where I teach you how to navigate the workplace with ease and manage the finances that come with it so we can literally create and fund our most abundant lives. You are now in part 1. We're going to talk about the foundation. The foundation includes 3 main pieces: budget, emergency fund, and your debt payoff plan. This might be kind of long, so make sure you're following along and save this video for later. And share it to help somebody, because come on, let's all win here. All right, let's get into it. Budget. I like to call it a prosperity plan or an abundance plan or whatever you need to call it to get you to do it. Because here's the thing. I have no right, nor does anybody else, including your mama, to tell you how to spend your money, where it should go, etc. But you do want to be intentional and spend it on things that give you joy. And here's the thing. If you fail to plan, then you're literally planning to fail. And the way that this inflation is set up, the best thing we can all do for ourselves to get really clear on how much money we're bringing in, and more importantly, where is it going? And I know you're probably like, well, Amanda, things are just crazy expensive right now. That is all the more reason for us to really get real with ourselves about where our money is going. Now, I won't talk to you, I'll just speak for myself. Me and Chipotle got a toxic relationship. I mean, I feel good when I'm eating my tacos and everything and my burrito bowl with the tofu and all that. But when I look at my bank account, it's like $100 to Chipotle each month. I'm like, ooh, am I okay with that? Now me, I'm okay with that. That's in alignment with what I value, and I have space for that carved out in my budget. But to somebody else, you're like, no, I hate Chipotle. Then it would make no sense for you to keep seeing that show up in your budget, right? Okay, now the reason why this is so important, again, it doesn't matter where your money is going as long as it's in alignment with what you're trying to achieve. But having that moment of reflection is pivotal to make sure that if you need to adjust, that you know where you can do so, right? Especially when it comes to meeting your other savings goals and figuring out how much money you have left over to build up our actual pyramid to get our money working for us. And that gap, there's many names for it. One of my girls calls it your glorious gap. Somebody else calls it your financial freedom gap. I call it your abundant life gap. Whatever that is, the difference between how much you have coming in and the gap with everything else that's coming out, that difference, right? Income minus expenses, that piece right there, that's the moneymaker, because that's going to get moved up into our above pyramid to help make some things happen. Now, in order to maximize that gap without sacrificing what brings us joy in life, we get to the next piece of our foundation, that emergency fund, also known as the Life Happens Fund or the FU fund, whatever you need to call it to get you saving for it. We got to prioritize that. And when I say prioritize that, do it in a way that's authentic to you, but make that your number one goal. Because let me tell you something, you're going to feel a lot better if, let's say, knock on wood, you get laid off, or knock on wood, somebody loses their job, or knock on wood, insert whatever crazy thing that keeps you up at night were to happen. If you have just a little something set aside, you're going to breathe easier. Now, let's be frank. If anybody loses a job, you're going to have a little bit of anxiety. It's to be expected. But how much anxiety you have is very different if you at least have enough saved up to get you through the next 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, versus you wasn't going to make it to that next check. And yes, I know the stats about living paycheck to paycheck. And that's why the budget piece, the prosperity plan, and this abundant life, emergency fund, whatever you want to call it, is needed, right? And as I said earlier, I have no right to tell you how to spend your money. But if I may just put something out there, look through all of it. And again, you got to be real. I actually do this exercise with my clients, look at your last 3 months and where everything is going, and look for the places where you can cut back. And I know society has programmed us into this, you deserve it all. You deserve it. You deserve it. You know what they're saying? You deserve debt, because they keep making us want things that we really may not even want if we weren't being influenced by the media. Conversation for another day. But the point being, get really real on where your money is going and see if, where you can, find some wiggle room. And small steps add up over time. So even if, it's going to take you a little bit longer, it's better to have something there. So that way, when and if life happens, you have some breathing room versus literally going paycheck to paycheck. And I get it. It's tough. We have all been there. But that short-term sacrifice, once you get that foundation in place, it literally is just going to create that breathing room to allow you to compound things over time. Which gets me to my last piece, a debt payoff plan. Listen, I want Daddy Biden to forgive student loans for all of us, just like the rest of us, right? What I went through paying off debt for several years, I don't wish that upon anybody. As a debt-free person, I hope that he does this for y'all, because I don't wish that upon anyone. And I can also recognize the privilege that I had to be able to do that, because I didn't have kids and all that back then. So like, I had more income to spare. If you're a parent, Pampers are expensive. I see you, right? It doesn't change the fact that we need a plan. And the reason why I say a plan, I'm not going to tell you to pay off your debt before you invest, because time is your greatest wealth building asset. The sooner you put that $500 into the market, the quicker it can compound and double for you over time. But you do want to have a plan in place, because again, if that foundation is not set, you might start trying to do the right thing and making your money work for you. But because that foundation was rocky, you'll find yourself dipping into things. Somebody can put the statistic in the comments for me, because I ain't got time today. But we know that during the pandemic and like post with all the layoffs and everything, we saw an uptick in people tapping into their retirement plan funds, right, to help pay for bills today. And some of that could have been mitigated against between one, having that emergency fund, and then two, having a plan for those additional debts and things of that nature. So in summary, we want to have a solid foundation so we give ourselves the ability to invest the additional funds left over and prioritize that to make our money working for us. So that means getting our budget, prosperity plan in place so we know what money is coming in and where it's going, and making sure that's in alignment with what we care about, with what we value, and include some of your financial priorities in that prosperity plan, right? If you want to take a trip, your girl loves a good vacation, I'm planning in advance. If it's going to cost me, $400, that's $100 per month, and that's part of my budget, right? To that point, if you're trying to build up your emergency fund, your Life Happens fund, make that a line item in your budget. And how fast do you want to get there? Take the total cost, divide that up based off either like the months or the weeks or bi-weekly, whatever your pay schedule is, whatever makes sense for you, to back into what's a feasible plan. Again, small steps help you hit those big milestones. Because once you have that Life Happens fund in place, that money you're putting there, if you have nothing else to put towards your financial goals, once that is hit, you can then take that same amount of money and put it towards investing or towards whatever big, goal you have on your plate, right? Without having to, let's say, increase your income. And we are going to want to increase our income. But I'm trying to show you how things can compound and snowball over time. And speaking of snowballs, when it comes to a debt payoff plan and how you want to tackle it, there's multiple trains of thought. Do what's going to keep you motivated and keep you going. Because once you're in a good groove, you can easily kind of just move back and forth between strategies. But you have the debt snowball and debt avalanche. Debt snowball focuses on the motivation, right? Getting those smaller debts paid off sooner so you see that momentum kind of pull through. Debt avalanche says, like, how do I pay off the least amount of money over time by tackling our high interest accounts? Like I said, I had over $60,000 in debt. I started off with the snowball method because I had I think roughly 13 or 14 or so individual loans all across all of that mess. And one of my loans though was only $500, y'all. My minimum student loan payment was like $400 something per month. That $500 small sliver of that $60,000 worth of debt was getting like $2 or whatever out of the minimum payments. I was like, okay, this is crazy. So when I had a little extra money to give towards it early on in my journey, I said anything above my minimum loan, right, or minimum payment, take that little extra bit and put it towards that small loan and just get that out of here. And so I went smallest to largest. And then once I got to the last five, they're the big kahunas. At that point, I'm just throwing whatever I can at it. But all that to say, be encouraged, give yourself grace. This is a process. Most of us were not taught how to do this, and times are different. And again, ignore the noise, y'all. I might make a separate video on this, but there are things that we crave and we feel and emotions that are kind of being poured into us that are not supposed to be there, that are meant to hold us down. And I'm probably getting choked up because I don't want me to get this message out. The sooner we can kind of control our mind and get focused and not be so easily distracted, the easier some of this will be. Let me tell you, my biggest motivation for getting rid of my own personal student loan debt and my car payment, I was like $500 something a month towards loans. When I get debt free, eventually, I'm like, that money is going towards travel. And that's why I prioritize it today. And you see me taking these trips and stuff, because all that struggle and suffering for a couple of those years to get that out of my life was for this moment. But I had to stay focused. I had people coming at me sideways about my choices. Like, why are you so strict on your budget? You're only in your 20s once, this, that, and the third. And all of that is true. But they didn't have the vision for my life that I had for myself. And they also were not living the life that I would want. So why are you trying to give me advice if it doesn't even apply for yourself? If you can't even get yourself into your own abundant life, make it make sense. But yes, that is our foundation. If you're not already, please follow along. We're going to get into part 2. We get through our first level of the actual pyramid.